The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
And this is Ghostbox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakken, and thank you very much for joining me tonight. Here we are. It's Casual Friday. Finally, we're at Friday. Oh my goodness, what a week it's been. But I'm going to tell you, this has been quite the week for guests on the show. And let me explain this, because we've had, through our entire time doing this, we've had amazing guests. Since we started the nightly show, we've had more amazing guests. But this has been quite the interesting week. Energetically, and we didn't have a show on Monday, but we had Cindy Keza on Tuesday talking, and we're talking about energy and stuff. On Wednesday, we had Bishop Rita Strugala from the Legion of Exorcists. That was a really interesting, eye-opening conversation. And then last night, we had David L. Sloan on the program, who had written the book about Robert the Doll. And that, first of all, going into it, I did not believe or understand. Perhaps understand might be the better word. What you have to do to have a good conversation about Robert the Doll, and it was a very, once again, very eye opening. And last night's interview was very intense. It's in a lot of different ways. And I would ask anybody who missed it, go to ghostboxradio.com and find that episode. It should be, once you scroll through the events on the main page, there is that's where all the old episodes are, past episodes, I should say. And take a listen to it. It's a very, very interesting conversation, and very much, I think David L. Sloan definitely is coming across as the truly the person who's watching over the well-being of Robert the Doll. That's the way that I took it, at least. So I'd be very interested in what you all think about it. We had a very lively group last night with a lot of questions about everything to do with Robert the Doll. They were very good questions. We had very good questions the night before with Bishop Rita as well. And, that's what really made the program very, very good, because these questions were coming through. And it's well worth taking a listen to it if you haven't. And I'd love to know your opinion, obviously on all the episodes, but really what we talked about with Robert the Doll. And we're going to be talking more about haunted objects here in a couple minutes. But please send me your thoughts after you listen to it over at comment@ghostboxradio.com. That's comment@ghostboxradio.com. Send me what you think. I'd be very interested in knowing what that is. It's just really just an incredible conversation. So tonight, kind of what we're going to do, as always on Casual Friday, we're going to read some listener mail and comments. We're going to do, basically, we did a question of the week through Facebook. We got a lot of responses to it, and then I got a couple articles that I would like to read tonight. So let's get started. We've got a couple pieces of listener comment and mail. And the first one, an email that came through was, "Hello, Greg and Adam." Whatever. I enjoyed your episode with Cindy Keza, and also really enjoyed your interview with Steve DeShavi when you were on KCOR in Las Vegas. And the person is saying so because We played part of the Steve DeShavi interview I did back in 2019 when my show was on KCOR. How long have you been doing this radio show, and is there a way I can hear old episodes of Ghostbox? So it's a really good question because we're trying to figure a couple things out. But I had been doing Ghostbox Radio in some form or another since 2015, and it really started on a paranormal group that's still around now called Live Paranormal. And at that point, it was called Minnesota Ghostbox Radio because we were from Minnesota, and I wanted to include that in there. But the thing is that I think I only did just a few episodes, maybe 6 episodes on Live Paranormal. I went to another paranormal network called Para X, that they're still around, and they still have a bunch of really good paranormal radio shows. That's para-x.com, if I'm not mistaken. And then after that, I moved over to KCOR in Las Vegas. I didn't live in Las Vegas, but the show was broadcast out of Las Vegas. And we did a lot of interviews there. I was on there for a few years, and we had a lot of great guests, and we accumulated a lot of episodes. And then in 2020, I moved over to AM 950, where we had once a week we were doing the show on AM 950, and ended up with doing a good enough job, I guess, where we were asked to move to 5 nights a week. So that has accumulated a number of episodes over the course of the last 9 years. So what I'm looking at now, and I hope that people might be interested in this. And if you are, let me know in the comments. Let me know through comment at ghostboxradio.com. I have a Patreon going for Ghostbox. It's really for Ghostbox, the paranormal brand that I do. And I'm thinking about putting many of these episodes available through the Patreon for like $2, $3 a month, something like that, to have access to this. And then we're going to have another tier that's going to have some rarer stuff, and also some bonus stuff like longer interviews and other content, like maybe a few times a month, some new extra stuff. And the kind of the point with that is that then we can have, a kind of a library and make use of some of this stuff, because some of the stuff is completely unavailable. But at the same time, there's some really good interviews with people who have passed now that are good for, they're really good interviews, good conversations. One that springs to mind is a woman by the name of Wanda Kay. And Wanda was somebody who helped out over at Bobby Mackey's Music World, and a lot of people know what that is. It's a very incredible bar owned by Bobby Mackey, but it's also very haunted. And some people think it's very dark. Some people don't think it's dark, but they say it's haunted. I've been there. It's been very interesting. But unfortunately, after we got out there to meet Wanda and we did a show, I did a show with her. I had her on as a guest. She sadly passed away. And that is something that that really still to this day makes me very sad, because she was such a wonderful person. But those episodes should be made available, and I currently really don't have a place to put those at the moment. So, and honestly, it'd be nice to make a little bit of money off of what we have here. So hopefully some people might be tempted to do a Patreon of a couple different levels, and from there see if, have a listen. And I'm just trying to figure out the best way to put it on Patreon. So that's where I'm at with that. That's a very long answer, but that is currently what I'm thinking, so that some of these older episodes can be made available to people, because I really enjoyed it for myself, listening to the Steve DeShavi interview. So I thought that was really cool. Also I thought, which was funny, when we had Bishop Rita on Wednesday night, we got a comment in there, and I really don't know what to make of it, but it wasn't really appropriate to put on when we were talking about demonology, and it was from Brandon Vegas, and that was from YouTube. And Brandon said, "Ambassador Vegas of the Federation of Light Proto-Dame, peace be with you, humans of the planet Earth." So first of all, I am not here to say the veracity of whether or not someone is from Earth or not. So if you believe you're not from Earth, then definitely welcome. Peace to you as well. I wasn't sure if we're going to hear from this person tonight. Or even on Thursday night, but we haven't as of yet. So I thought that was funny. I wanted to include that. So that was me thinking it's pretty funny. The one thing, though, I wanted to kind of talk about. So I asked the question earlier this week on Facebook, on a couple of Facebook places that I post, like Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. If you are on Facebook, please go like my page, also my personal profile page. The question was, do you believe spirits can haunt objects such as dolls or furniture? And if yes, do you own anything that you consider haunted? Please share your experiences here or send me an email. And a lot of people shared their experiences, which I am really pretty thrilled about. And before we really get into this, and I will definitely take the next segment to really go through the answers that we got. But I want to point out to you all this doll behind me. This what is basically I call the cliche, because the haunted, Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll. If you watch the movies, she's a very creepy creature, a creepy doll. But the original Annabelle, which is in the Warren Museum, which I've had the opportunity to actually see in person, as well as have my picture taken with Annabelle. I got this Raggedy Ann doll because I am part of the Warren Legacy Foundation. So, I mean, it's just kind of a nice little callback to one of their most famous pieces from their own museum. And the Warren Legacy Foundation is a very serious group of paranormal investigators who want to help people, and that this is on a level of, there's a lot going on to verify cases, a lot going on to help people, a lot going on to get into it. And so I was helping them do their live streams, and I thought, well, let's create a room that has some cool lighting such as this, as well as getting a Raggedy Ann doll. And this is slightly vintage. I got it from Etsy. And so here I am. I get this doll, and it was really kind of weird to get the doll because there was some kind of mistake made, I believe, if I remember correctly, that there was a confusion between the buyer and myself, and I thought I lost the doll, like I wasn't going to get it. But in fact, it just arrived later. So here I am, and I am at my house, and the doll arrives. And so outside my front door, there's this package. I pick up the package, and I bring it into my house. And almost at that moment, I get a message on Facebook from Char Savoy. You might remember Char Savoy from such radio programs as this one. And she is, as we have talked about many times, a very gifted psychic medium. And she just sends me a note. And I had to look it up today because it's been a while since I thought about this. And she said, do you know a dean? D-E-A-N. Do you know a dean? And I'm just like, no, I don't. I do know a dean, as it happens, but he has not passed. So if you're looking about someone who might have passed, that's different. I don't know this person then. And she goes, well, there's some sort of connection. There's something going on here. And I just said, well, the moment that you messaged me, I brought this doll into the house. And she is just like, oh, and she can't confirm. And none of us could confirm whether or not this was actually, connected to this doll. But I don't know for certain. And I'm not trying to say, oh, yep, we got our own Annabelle here. And that's why I call it a bit of a cliche, because everyone does this, right? I'm not doing anything original here at all. But I also had someone message me the moment I brought this doll through my threshold. And I find that interesting. Perhaps a little concerning, but I mean, it's interesting because the room I'm in right now, where I do this when I'm at home doing this, it's double doors with windows, and I can see my couch in my living room from here. So when I'm looking in where I'm sitting on the couch, when I'm looking into here, I'm always seeing this face. It's like perfectly in one of the window frames. And so, I certainly kind of think about that, and I'm just like, I don't know. So, am I saying this doll's haunted? That's something like a cliche, but if something happens, I'm going to let you know, and I certainly hope nothing happens. Why don't we go ahead? Let's take our first break. When we come back, we're going to read through some of the Facebook responses that we got, and we're going to kind of talk more about haunted objects and people's experiences. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950. And welcome back to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakken. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. Once again, folks, it's Friday, so there's something to celebrate tonight, right? Hope everyone's going to have a great weekend. I hope that there is some fun in the future for all of you. Let me know in the comments what you're doing this weekend. I think it's going to be fun. I have a couple things going on, and you know what I'm going to do? On Sunday, I think, because I can't do it. I couldn't do it today. I can't do it tomorrow. I'm going to go see The Nun 2. As we're talking about the Conjuring universe, I'm definitely going to go see The Nun 2. I enjoyed the first one. I like their brand of storytelling. It's not too scary. You know what you're getting into, and I think it's done really well. It's visually beautiful, especially The Nun. I thought the original one, the locations and stuff, I thought it was really fantastic. And it's the right kind of scare. I know that there's people who are very much like, that they're all very much like, that's not too scary. It's, I've been scared more other places. To me, it's the right blend. Enough to make me jump on my seat once in a while, but definitely not, like, I'm not a big fan of gore. So I'm really looking forward to that. So, as we talked the last segment, talking about haunted objects. So once again, the question that I put out there this week, do you believe spirits can haunt objects such as dolls or furniture? And if yes, do you own anything that you consider haunted? Please share your experiences here, or send me an email. And people did do it. So I'm going to read through what people had told us tonight. And people knew. And when I posted it, people had posted, I posted pictures of both Annabelle and Robert the doll. And so you get some people like Annalise says, Robert is super scary. I don't know if I believe dolls can be possessed because I think it's an odd choice for a vessel, but I would not mess with Robert. And, if you listen to the show last night, the one thing that is very obvious is that you do need to respect Robert. You need to respect his energy. You definitely need to make sure that you are being respectful when you're talking about him. It's one of those things that we learned last night, and I was learning when I was doing research about it. And it's kind of scary. I'm not going to lie. It's scary to know that. And if you don't believe in this stuff, so be it, right? It's okay. But there's something to be said about the fact that, and I'm going to be honest, you might see me, if you're watching the stream, you might see me looking over the door. There's a light on that wasn't on before. And I'm going to be honest, for those of you who watched the episode with Robert the Doll, something moved on me last night when we were talking about it. So I'm not going to lie, I am a little bit on edge about the whole thing. And I think that goes into the respect of what this energy is. So that's why you got to be careful. So when people are just like, I'm scared of this doll or whatever, I think that's fine, but you also want to be respectful of it too. Do not mock any of any of these dolls, any of these objects, and one thing that they found out, going into like where Robert is on display, you don't go in mocking him. If you do, you're going to pay the price. Once again, that episode's available on ghostboxradio.com. Listen to it. It's pretty intense here. Let's see here. Jennifer writes, I have no proof, and this is kind of a bit of a conversation. So I'm going to read through it because it's very interesting. She is not someone I would have thought about paranormal. I've known her for many years. I never would have thought that she was had any thoughts about paranormal at all. But she says, I have no proof they can't. So I'd agree that they could be. This is an item in my home, and she shares a picture that I wonder about frequently. So she shares this picture, and she says, this is an item in my home I wonder about frequently. So I just ask her, what makes you wonder about it? And she's just like, I'm not sure. Just odd things since I've had Mary. Sounds, doors open, dogs barking at the office door. And I asked her how long you've had her. And she says she's been in the family at least my whole life, 47 years plus. She belonged to my aunt. She dealt in European antiquities. Mary was one of few pieces, so the statue has a name. Mary has a few pieces I didn't find in her catalog. That said, I've got a few of her pieces in my house, so who knows? My parents don't remember too much about the history. So there's that sort of thing where it's just like there's some, that intuition comes through. Brianna says, yes, objects can totally be haunted, especially if you're the one that put them there. In addition to several haunted crystals, I also have a talisman I got at the Hmong market that allegedly has a spirit of a monk attached to it. And Jacqueline says, I've had some strange interactions with red wax covered box, including 2 photos taken months apart of me holding it, which were strange. And you got to be careful. There's those boxes out there. I don't know if you've ever seen them like on eBay that people will put out there that these are boxes that have spells in them and that they are coated in wax. And if you break open the wax box, you're going to release whatever's inside there. And there are a lot of different, takes on this, whether you believe or you don't believe. But honestly, that is something that, if you see them on eBay, in my opinion, stay away from it. You don't know what you're messing with. A lot of this stuff, we don't know what we're messing with. You think about the doll, and you think about when you bring in antiques into your house, you need to sage them. Even if you're not into the paranormal, you should really sage everything that comes into your house, because that is, you don't know what energies you're bringing in. And I've had a number of people talk to me about that. When I worked for Carmichael Lynch, the CEO, he had told me that he had brought some stuff from an antique store into the house, and they're not quite sure what was going on with some of the stuff in the house. Now, going back to the Facebook stuff, Anita says, hey, Greg, yes, objects can house spirits. Many cultures use them for such purposes since the advent of recorded history. They can be made for this purpose. She says she has a few, and they can get stuck in an object, choose to settle in an object, or be bound to an object. Binding them to an object is my favorite way of dealing with a troublesome spirit. The most obnoxious spirit I have wasn't bound by me. It's stuck in a bracelet. Pretty sure they've mentioned it before. It's one that did all the damage to the house. I'm about to get another such item, but this time it's more positive situation. If you would like historical, anthropological information on such figures, I'd be happy to dig that out for you. Well, I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much, Anita. And that's, something that I always find interesting. There are people who I think take the cue from the Warrens, and I know people who do investigations, and that they want to take like one thing like from the investigation with often with permission to add to their collection. And I worry about that personally. That's not my way to vibe, but you be you. But I've also seen people who take stuff not from people's houses, but from like graveyards and stuff without permission. And that's a whole different beast. That's not great. And they feel they get their comeuppance. Every single time I feel they get their comeuppance. They tell me stuff, and it's just like, you shouldn't have taken it, and yet they do. Going back, remember our friend Anna Maria Manalo, who wrote Night Visitants? We talked to her, and she says she got a book about it. She wrote a book about it. Of course you did, Anna. Of course you did. It's called Haunted Heirlooms. And you know what? Let's get her on the show. Let's talk about it at some point. It's such a great subject. And, she scared the you-know-what out of us the last time that she was on. Do it again, right? Might as well. Let's see here. Interesting one. Kelly says, I think some items could be haunted or cursed. I don't think, it's just her opinion, that it happens often, though. I've always thought haunted dolls made the most sense. She says it sounds crazy, and I don't think it sounds crazy, because if you're a spirit, want to attach to something, why not pick a human-like structure? I totally agree with that. Now, she says, funny story, I had a friend who had accidentally over-ordered some mood rings for her booth at the farmer's market. She tried selling them as bulk items, discounted, etc. on eBay, Craigslist, around 2010 with no luck. I jokingly suggested to mark them as cursed items and list them individually on eBay. They sold out, and she made a huge profit. It's funny, and hopefully, Kelly, you got a profit from it. That you got a little bit of something from that for the idea. That's the funny thing about it. And I know that I'm reading, and some people were just kind of like, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that," or "They don't do that." It's like, you know what? I think it's more, in my mind, of a commentary on the fact that there are people who suddenly are super interested only because it says it's cursed. And that actually troubles me personally. I don't know about you all, but it actually troubles me quite a bit, because why do people want to buy cursed objects? And I wonder if it goes back to the fact that they don't understand, or they don't truly believe that there are there's rectification for the actions you take. And that's something that I think that a lot of people need to understand. And sometimes they find out the hard way. Now, Will, my friend Will, says, my son and I had this discussion about a week ago. The result? We felt like describing it as an attachment seemed more likely. So more of an attachment than something haunting something, which I think, Will, you and your son are spot on, though I think it can work both ways, in my opinion. Something about a specific object, Will says, that the spirit just hangs with because of some connection to it they had. So, in the case of some of these haunted dolls, who knows where they may have come from? But I think, to Will's point, what if, and I know somebody, actually, now thinking about it, I think their mom is attached to some jewelry, and because there's been some action and reaction around there. So I wonder that. Anthony says, yes, I do believe. Sarah says, yes, but I think it depends on your definition of haunted. We are aware of spirits that hang out in houses, castles, businesses. All are structures. Items are also structural. So yes, spirit can be furniture of any item or any items that are or were around people, animals, etc. I also think that it has a lot to do with the intention of spirit. I have a rock my mother gave me when I was seriously ill. I carry it every day. If not in my pocket, then in my purse. It reminds me of her. It is infused with her love. Is it haunted? Not sure, but I do know I feel her presence when I hold it. Depends on your definition. I think that's fantastic, Sarah. Thank you very much for that. And I think what's really interesting about that, do we call something haunted because we don't understand it? But if it's something that we know is from a loved one, that's a totally different thing. Bob says, I don't think objects can be haunted, but spirits or entities can manipulate them for their own use. John says, yes, I've owned a haunted doll, 2 haunted cameras, and several mystical rocks. Dale says, yes, I think they could take over objects as well. And Sarah says, after a friend of mine's mother passed, he gave us this beautiful heart-shaped velvet chair with wood trim. Almost immediately after bringing it into my house, we started hearing and seeing things. We had it for about 6 or 7 months. Then I put it outside for a garage sale. Never again. And that's a very interesting piece there because after a friend of mine's mother passed away, to me it sounds almost immediately like what's going on here is that maybe the mother did not like this chair be given away. Maybe she had more of an attachment, so to speak, to the chair than just seeing that it's just be given away to some neighbor instead of being kept in the family. That's just a possibility. I am not too sure. I mean, but that's what it sounds like to me. Kim says that no experience, but I absolutely believe objects can be haunted. And I don't know. Once again, I know I keep going back to the episode last night, but if you listen to that, it is, without a doubt, because you're talking thousands of people who have had similar activities after visiting that doll in the museum. It's something you have to pay some kind of attention to, don't you? I mean, don't you? That's the way I see it, at least. I mean, there's a lot going on there. So that's our question for this week. I think there's some very intelligent answers there. Thank you all very much. We'll be doing it again. I don't know if next week, but in a couple weeks, we'll be doing another question of the week and talking more about what's on our mind. And thank you for sharing everything on it. What we're going to do now, let's go ahead. Let's take another break. When we come back, we're going to read some articles that we have found that I think are interesting. For those of you who saw an image on my art for tonight, you're wondering what it is, we'll talk about it when we come back. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950. And join us Monday on Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken as we talk to Lori Lashman from Souls of Spirit Expos. They have their next expo in Deadwood, South Dakota on September 16th. She'll be joined on the show by shamanic practitioner and psychic medium Mary Newstrom. It's going to be a fantastic conversation, and definitely invite everybody to take part. That's Monday on Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. We are in the midst of Casual Friday, and it's going to be I think it's going to be a great weekend. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope, like I said earlier, I hope everyone has something good going on. Like I said, I'm going to go see The Nun too. Maybe do a little bit of grilling. I might like a little bit of grilling. This week I did some ribs on the grill, and it's not the traditional. Like, I know a lot of people love to have that fall off the bone rib. I don't do that. I don't have like 6 hours to smoke ribs. Now, I've done it before, but I don't normally partake because it takes too long. So what I end up doing is I take my ribs and I put them on the grill. I put them over a fire for about 7 minutes each side to kind of start cooking them through. And then I take it off the grill, and I have it on the grill, but I take it off heat, and I cover up the grill, and I let that sit for like another 30 minutes or something like that, just so it's kind of indirect heat. And it cooks it through. It's very juicy. I'll add sauce, and I'll put that on and put that back over heat. And I know a lot of you are like, well, does that fall off the bone ribs? And it's not. But I'll tell you, I wasn't really a fan of that type of rib. I grew up having the ribs cooked differently. Like, my mom was a great cook, but hers wouldn't fall off the bone. That's what I like it, how she made it, so I emulate it that way as well. So, long story short, that's kind of what I like to do with ribs, and I just absolutely love grilling all sorts of stuff, and I'll do it. You're going to hear me talk about it all winter because I don't stop unless I move somewhere that I cannot grill. I'm all about it. So January, I'll be out there grilling all the time. It really, really doesn't matter. So yeah, I think that that's just how it is, I guess. Some really some delicious foods. I don't make a lot of extras or anything with it. I mean, it's really just the meat. That's really what it always comes down to for me. It's always just the meat. So I'm just trying to pull up one of the articles I want to talk about today because I posted for those of you who don't follow me on Facebook, and I wish you would, Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, a Facebook page. Please go follow it. I put art together for each episode, just a little something. And the story I'm going to read is from you. I used that to create the art. Let's put it that way. So a man reckons he's photographed Bigfoot watching people. Bigfoot is actually watching people in a canyon from the top of a ridge. Some people have described his chilling image as credible evidence of the beast. So a mysterious figure has been photographed on top of a ridge, and some people reckon it's Bigfoot watching other people, watching us, basically. The creepy images were shared to the Bigfoot Believers Facebook page by Greg Savoli, who explained they were taken in Zion National Park in Utah. He explained the pictures were taken about 30 seconds apart from a couple of different angles. Greg has also shared an overhead shot of the exact spot he was sitting. There's no huge natural formation in that exact spot, basically saying that explains it away. Two images are zoomed out and show the ridgeline. In one, there is a strange black figure, where in the other there is not. So that's smart that they're taking two pictures. One zoomed-in image shows a small black mass peering over the ridge, where in the other, the full figure is visible. Some people commenting on the post thought it was more likely a human. Justin Alvey said 5.1 million people will visit that canyon this year. Seems more likely to be a human than Bigfoot. Kind of have to agree with you all on that. Besides, if Bigfoot was in the neighborhood, why wouldn't he hang out in one of the 200 canyons within 50 miles that gets 100 visitors a year instead of the one that gets 5 million? Once again, a good point. Greg said it was a good point, and I just did, but suggested Justin's argument was based on presumptions about Bigfoot's behavior. Greg replied, maybe he likes to watch people. Maybe it doesn't count people or know the stats of any particular canyon. Maybe no one can get to where it is. Once again, okay, I'm buying that. I get that. Maybe it was just passing through the area on its way to a less popular area. It's a very intelligent animal that we have no idea about how it thinks. Now, there are pictures, and I got this through the dailystar.co.uk, and there are pictures of this being, and it really is nondescript. But even worse, they zoom in on the picture, and it is the worst possible thing you could do because it is so pixelated. It is so bad. Why did you even bother doing that? That's what I kept going back to. It looks like it's like a graphic from Minesweep in the early 90s. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I use that as my image because it's just so silly that they did that. It's like, is this really? And underneath it says, could this be Bigfoot? No, actually not. So I think Greg says then, let's apply the same logic to being a human being. A massive 3-foot wide hiker. It was UK, so it's going to be a different measurement of unit. Hiker decides to dress in all black from head to toe and hike on smooth 45-degree angle mountain for a few hundred feet up a canyon where there's no hiking trails, alone in 90-degree heat. That also doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know. Other commenters were more convinced by Greg's photo. One said the proportions look correct, and that certainly looks like an arm on the left. A second said, I would say this is credible evidence. And another reply, Greg said he wasn't looking for Bigfoot and only noticed the gorilla-shaped mass when he was at home processing the photos he took. I don't know. I don't know what to think, and I'll put this on the Facebook page, and we can all kind of look at it together and see. Um, the argument in my mind that this is something that why would a hiker go on this? I mean, but we all know, quite frankly, that hikers do stuff, or people scale mountains or whatever. That's what they do. They like a challenge like that, and I think that's what was happening here, possibly. So that's my take on it, at least. I'd love to hear your take on it as well. Residents in Waynesboro, Virginia, known for the 1960s UFO sighting, were treated to an unusual sight recently. A bright train-like glow in the sky that abruptly vanished. The UFO hotspot stirred up intrigue once again as locals reported the mysterious event on Friday night, September 1st. So this was, 8 days ago. Decades ago, in December 1964 and January 1965, reports a metallic ship and an upside-down spinning top toy emitting a strange blue glow fueled speculation about extraterrestrial encounters in the area. However, this time the lights were from a Starlink satellite. I was just going to say that had to be what that is. Scheduled to be visible in the region around 9 p.m., Elon Musk's SpaceX, which operates Starlink, acknowledged the sightings on social media. While the lights caused alarm for some who contacted the police, local reports reassured the community that Starlink satellites are not dangerous, but can be surprising to those witnessing them for the first time. And it is. There's something unique about them for sure. Let's see. Starlink's mission to provide high-speed internet access, especially in underserved rural areas, with plans to launch 1,000 more satellites into Earth orbit. Similar incidents have occurred in nearby regions, rekindling memories of the UFO frenzy from 1960s in Virginia. Now, you know what's interesting about that? To me, that almost sounds like a bit of a rehash of what you call it, War of the Worlds. It's like there's an explanation for. People thought that the radio broadcast for War of the Worlds with Orson Welles was like real, but it's not. And that is something that it's kind of like this a little bit. It's a little bit like what is happening here. So if you're not in the know, it's easy to miss. I totally understand, and that's kind of tough sometimes for people who have no idea what was going on. So nope, I totally get it. Now, earlier this year, there was a span of a few weeks when one UFO sighting after the next was widely reported on. Shortly after members of the United States Armed Forces shot down a Chinese spy balloon. A handful of other UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena, aircraft were engaged and taken down across various parts of North America. One of those UFOs was taken down in the most northern parts of Canada, and now the Canadian government has released a classified memo to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau discussing the downed UAP. The secret document details the craft shot down of Canada's Yukon Territory, which was the 23rd such UAP tracked in North America airspace. It was taken down in February. NORAD numbers objects on a sequential basis per year to track every detected object that is not immediately identified upon cross-examination. Most objects are found to be innocuous and do not meet the threshold for higher reporting or engagement. The memo obtained by CTV News explains objects number 23 function, method of propulsion, or affiliation to any nation state remains unverified. While much of the memo is redacted because of security concerns, some startling revelations are made, including a note that Canadian officials couldn't locate the crashed craft and confirm whether or not it posed a threat to civilian life. It is unknown whether it possesses an armed threat or has intelligent collection capabilities, the memo adds. The area in which the impact occurred is known as Caribou Migration Route, which opens the possibility of future accidental discovery by indigenous hunters. The memo was sent to Trudeau's office on February 14th of this year, and Yukon search for the downed craft was called off on February 17th due to hazardous conditions. It also appears to indicate a low level of understanding of the objects in terms of its capabilities and function, University of Colorado aerospace professor Ian Boyd told the Canadian News Channel. Under normal circumstances, you'd like to think about the decision to shoot it down, and it would only be made after a thorough assessment has been made of the danger it posed based on all information available. He added, "We have gone from a crazy few days where 4 objects were shot down to nothing in 6 months since. It'd be interesting to know what changes and procedures, if any, have been taken or undertaken by NORAD or other organizations charged with protecting Canada and the U.S. I'll tell you, I think we're just going to get more of this. I think, and there's so many things that are happening that we do not have a ton of control over, that we don't know about. And I include like drones and other things with that as well. So I think that, there is just a lot happening. And, we're going to have to kind of make that distinction, if you will, between, is this something that really we need to worry about, or is this something that is earthbound, like stuff that is happening from around our country that citizens are putting up and putting in the air, or is it like some sort of other country threat? There is so much. I don't know. There's going to be, I think we're going to have a lot of interesting things come up here, and I'm not saying it's going to be good, but I think that these UAPs, whatever they are, whether it's from out of this planet or we're making ourselves, I think there's going to be a lot that we're going to have to figure out. So as we wrap up the week, don't forget Monday, we will have Lori Lashman on from Souls of Spirit Expos, and joining her will be shamanic practitioner and psychic medium Mary Newstrom. Please make sure to visit ghostboxradio.com to find past episodes of our radio shows, and like us over on Facebook at Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken. Definitely would appreciate that if you could do that. And also, send any comments or feedback to comment at ghostboxradio.com. And don't forget to check out the best of Ghostbox Radio, airing Saturdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 4 p.m. on AM 950. And then finally, whether you're chasing spirits or just drinking them tonight, please be careful out there, and we'll see you Monday as we talk to Lori Lashman from Souls of Spirit Expos. Everyone, have a great weekend and take care.